With drop weeks becoming a part of the equation, we get a much clearer picture of the championship. Current reigning champion Kvisto finds himself a lot closer to Daly, who has been the class of the field in pace most weeks. While it does breathe new life into the battle, it also requires the Finn to step up and take the fight to his rival. We'll see if he can as we get ready to watch round 15 of the Sunday Drivers' Cup, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Jake Sperry. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. New tracks are released frequently on iRacing, but when they're new base content, it's a special day for all drivers. Rudskogen is among those freshly dropped in our laps, so let's head to our track guide to learn more about it. Welcome to Rudskogen Motor Center. Located about an hour and a half south of Norway's capital of Oslo, the southerly placement allows for a much longer racing season than you'd expect in a Scandinavian country. At just over 2 miles, or 3¼ kilometers in length, the 14-turn track makes for a perfect lower to mid-level racing circuit. A nice amount of elevation change and some truly picturesque scenery makes it not hard on the eyes for fans, but retains a delicious amount of challenges for drivers. There's of course the obvious places for passes, such as into the sharp chicane of turns 1 and 2. But in spite of the long downhill stretch into 3, it's way too fast of a corner to try and overtake unless you're seriously brave. 7 and 8 include a frustrating triple apex sequence that rises, drops, and then rises again, all within what effectively becomes a single corner. There's also the tricky combination of 13 swift entry, then a seemingly never-ending final right-hander to dump you onto the main straight. With it being part of iRacing's base content, drivers are likely to get plenty familiar with this track, and they'll need to thanks to the very technical layout. But overall, it's easy to see why this is a popular destination for all Norwegian motorsports fans. Well, Jake, it might be brand new, but it is a track that has its own challenges other than the unfamiliarity. So what are they up against today in these MX-5s?
A lot. That's the simplest way I can describe it. There is a lot that goes around Rudskogen as a racetrack. This is a track which kind of feels like the baby brother to the Shanghai circuit. It is really, really cool to see how great racing is around this place. But the big thing's elevation change, and there is a lot of it. Through the corners, different types of corner, off camber, a lot. Turn 3 and 4 are going to be really, really testing for the drivers as they look to pick a marker, because too much and you're going straight on. Too little and you're losing a lot of time. A lot of corners on this circuit, Joe, can lose you not just 1/10 of a second, but 2/10, 3/10 in the blink of an eye. There is a very fine line around this place today between a good lap and a great lap, and the difference can be a second.
Yeah, it does seem very, very technical, but quite a bit of fun from my time having to make that lap guide and getting out of the various cars. I really enjoyed it. Now, we'll see if the drivers enjoy it, because there is that championship to fight for. And as you can see, with the updated points, Daly is only two ahead rather than behind Kvisto. Stefan Alderding is going to gain a lot because of the drop weeks as well, and is now only 23 back. But Svetanov is right hot on his heels as well. So mainly it's been that 2-horse race for much of the season, Daly and Kvisto trying to decide who comes out wearing the crown. And it's going to have to be a lot of the Finn really answering the speed of the Irishman so far this season. We also have a team's standings, Jake, and why don't we run through that real quick?
1P Motorsports have had the majority of domination across this series, but that gap with the drops is only 12 points, 413 to the 401 of Positive Delta Motorsport. iRacing Nederland with an outside shot of challenging for the title of team standings. They stand 44 points behind. Spirit 14 Racing are on their own in 4th with kind of sus racing out there in 5th. Simtech Racing have a very strong battle behind them in 6th, with TGR and Darius Scary Racing split by just 3 points out there overall. That just leaves 2G Parts and Equipment Racing in 9th, and GIF Racing, for some it's GIF Racing, but GIF Racing in 10th place.
And of course, for the Nations Cup, Ireland is leading Finland with the Netherlands behind, as we saw of the various nations of the top three in the Drivers' Championship. The UK, though, is the one sitting in fourth place. Bulgaria has jumped themselves up into fifth, and the United States promoting themselves into the top 10 firmly into eighth place. So have gained quite a bit there, but not as highly represented as some of the others that you see up here in the top 10. Very few drivers from my home country in that one. But for race details, in case somebody hasn't tuned in to the Sunday Drivers' Cup, Jake, why don't you head down those too?
Well, it's round 15 of 20, and it's been a long while since we last had a race. They take August off, and that is tradition when it comes, or September off, actually, I should say, is tradition for this series. But this is a 17-lap race today, so this is going to go by really, really quickly. There's a fixed setup, so it means that everyone is on exactly the same playing field. They're trying to get used to what this car is going to be doing today, and as such, everyone has an equal chance, quote unquote, to win. It's down to skill. There are, though, bonus points, and bonus points are important. Pole position gets you one, a fastest lap gets you one, and if you make the most places up during the course of a race, that is the hardest charger. If you make the most places in a race, that also gives you one bonus point. So 3 bonus points on offer to play with on top of the fixed points total. I'd say with a gap of just 2 points at the front, the points for pole and fastest lap could be a huge game changer in the swing of momentum in the final quarter of this championship, Joe.
Well, and Kavisto is not ignoring that as well, because as you can see, he has the provisional pole. Tom Daly's been struggling a little bit in qualifying. He's still down in fourth, but we've also seen that a lot of times he isn't necessarily as fast in quali, but often is very handy in the races, which in the Sunday Drivers' Cup, you kind of have to try and stay out of trouble many times, which Tom is very, very good at. There you see Callie now heading down into the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, and it'll swing back up the last few corners of the lap. A lot of blind apexes, blind entries and throughout this lap as well.
Yeah, really difficult, and you have to get trail braking through turn 12, that very important 90-degree left-hander, because it sets up the small flick left and the long sweeping right, which ends the lap, and you're just waiting to put the power down. Finally, you can. You've got this long front stretch to start to stretch that margin. Kalle Kavisto has improved his time by 0.2 of a second, moves to a 1:36.1. In practice, there was nobody within 0.4 of a second of him, and Tom Daly, who's back now in 5th position on a 36.9, it's a little bit of trouble here today. I don't think he's got the understanding of this circuit, and that might be very, very telling in terms of how he goes about the end of the season. He's very, very good as Tom Daly at the established circuits. Put him at a brand new track like this, I think we might have found a bit of a weakness. Here's Pedro Marimon for the Kind of Sus Racing team.
Currently sitting in the 8th position, down to the hairpin of 10. Once again, as he looks for his brake marker to try to get it to turn in. These are cars that can be quite loose as well. So trying to manage that back end into some of these corners, especially the fast ones, will probably be a task. So you see him now head into the final long right-hander here in a moment and trying to complete this lap. I think he is on an out lap from what I'm seeing, so I don't think this one will count. He's only set one time, and it must have been a good one there to get into the top 10 on the first time of asking. He gets bumped down to 9th as I think Zvedanov just promoted himself upwards. And let's see, Marimon, yeah, that one did not count. Zvedanov with a 36.5 finds himself in 3rd. Now, Jordinen is another one that started this season a little bit rough, but seems to have finally started to come into his own a little bit, Jake. So I wonder if he's going to be a bit like Tom, and that he has a hard time adapting to these new challenges, or if he'll be able to be on it on the word go.
Jordinen struggles from time, getting that ability to put practice in, and a lot of the pace that Jordinen setting off is able to gather out on races like this comes from natural skill of being very quick to learn what the track does, where you need to be, and how crucial it is. I do love this middle sector of the track, though, through 5 and 6, and the double apexes are 7 and 8. You need to be pretty much on a dime when you hit the brakes up at 7, because it bleeds into turn 8, and then you're back down the hill after dealing with the off camber through turn 9, past that fabled rock wall on the inside, which really does remind me of Motorland Aragon in terms of a rock wall, and then back up the hill after the turn 10 hairpin towards turn 11. I think Svetanov's got work to do. I'll tell you who is actually surprising me with how well he's doing is Claudio Di Giacomo out there in the number 86. First time I've seen him in this series, Joe, and he's up in P5 having a really good performance.
He has been out here before, I believe, but yeah, he just improved on his lap time, and he's up to 5th. It's about 200ths of a second as he actually just got punted off. We're watching Merrimon still here on our screen, but it's 200ths of a second up to Michael Ellett on row 2 for Claudio. Pedro still looking to get a clean lap in. It is a bit of a more modern circuit, and because of that, it's got a lot of paved runoff. And while they don't have incident limits in this series, there are a few places where I discovered slowdown penalties are very easy to come across.
Especially coming wide through turn 3 and 4. That's where I've been noticing quite a bit, and I do like that trait that iRacing's managed to put in over the last couple of years, I believe it's been, Joe, where they're punishing you not just for going out there and being too aggressive and getting the off-track 1x instant point, they're giving the slowdown as well to try and discourage drivers from, for example, using all of that runoff on the outside as a way to launch forward and gain more track space to attack for qualifying laps. So there is a lot of thought that goes into the placement of the gates, how much a slowdown penalty is, and where to place them. And I think iRacing's been doing a fantastic job in policing that with the use of the slowdown penalty. Michael Ellett looking to gear up then for another lap in the number 2 Positive Delta Motorsport car. Is going to have a bit of company in the form of Patrick Alders just behind, 137.2, his best time so far. So he's about half a second off the pace of, well, 3/4 of a second off the pace of Michael Ellett. But Patrick Alders here running through turn 2. It's so easy to run wide off of the exit, and that then you have this run all the way towards turn 3, which kind of feels like your traditional road. And because it does feel like that traditional road, Joe, it also has this feel, this Rudskogen circuit, of feeling very much like a manufacturer's test and development track.
It does kind of feel like that, and I think part of that is the short length of it as well. But like I said, I was having so much fun driving it. I'm not sure how it's going to race, but for hot lapping, it is a ton of fun, especially you mentioned this section coming up the hill and eventually leading into 8. There's so much elevation change all throughout it. And Anders' teammate Alderding actually just improved, but was not able to take the pole away from Kavisto. He got a 36.3 last time by, put him within about 2/10 of Cali, who still remains on the top spot. We were talking about the championship leader Daly earlier and his poor performance in the qualifying. He's still yet to get a clean one in, and actually I think he's setting up for a flyer now, because it looks like, yeah, he is going to try and open up this final corner, and he'll get the opportunity for at least one more lap, and then from there we'll see if he needs another one from then on. Wappy Motorsports number 67 car sends it into the first corner, but he's a little bit off the apex, struggling to get the car to bite, as it's going to now have to really open up down the hill. And you can see just that turn goes on forever. The Irishman now on the throttle, looking for turn 3.
Looking for a really big opportunity. It's a downhill braking zone as well. That's what makes this difficult. You're fighting for a bit of grip. Car always wants to be light through this section, through 3 and then into 4, which you have to slow up even more for as you go up the hill. Track really bends to the right, and then you've got this uphill chicane, the left and the right. Attack both curbs on the inside, and you're immediately on the brakes, turning and braking and getting the back out, trying to slide it, but that will be a lap abandoned. But crucially, we're inside the final minute, Joe, and because this is open qualifying and not closed qualifying, when the checkered flag drops, you can't start another lap compared to you can't finish another lap. So that means when they get to the checkered flag, they're allowed to finish the lap they're already on.
So he'll get one last chance to try and make it work, but will he be able to? Trying to see who is able to start another lap here, because obviously anybody who's starting it now won't be able to get another one in after this. This is basically it, and I think the first to take the checkered flag is likely going to be, I think, Arturo Davila in the number 20. Otherwise, I think we've got enough time for everybody in front of him to make it to the line in time. Here we see the Spirit 14 driver up the hill and heading towards the final few turns on this track. I think, will there somebody be in front of him maybe taking the checkers? Because there it comes down to one. And yes, Cali Cavisto is actually going to be the first to take the checkered flag, and he improves on the final time of asking to a 35.9, the first driver to break under the 136s.
Alderding got so close and may have even jumped ahead very briefly. It was that much of a fight to get there. Arturo Davila's time won't improve for the Spirit 14. Pedro Marimon is next then to the line. He finds himself then searching in the Catalan colours there on the left mirror as he goes to the line. That's a 37.8, no improvement for Pedro as he looks to try and get through. Now the question is, who can improve? Armanula Bacchus is out there, Bart Verkerk is out there, Michael Elliott might be one to keep an eye out on, as well as Claudio Di Giacomo. So those are the two really to keep a focus on, as Bacchus now looks to get a whole hand, a royal flush as he runs through. What a beautiful livery as he runs through 14.
Down into the line. Seeing him tracking is a little slower than his best lap, so I'm not sure if this is going to be an improvement, and it is not. So that's his qualifying done. For Kirk, though, was up on his time earlier, but must have made a mistake here since I last looked at him. But he only needed a time. He didn't need a good one, and that is a 39.8. They will put him at the back of the field. Elliott, who is currently sitting in third, cannot get himself on the front row. Alders, who got bumped down to 12th, unable to improve on this lap. Giacomo is going to stay in fifth as well. And yes, indeed, that is the last of our drivers, Jake. So, well, let's head through our starting grid here for today's event. And Cavisto takes the bonus point for the pole position. Stefan Alderding will be in second, and Michael Elliott will begin from P3. Jordan and Zvedanov will start from fourth. He's got Giacomo in the fifth position, flanked by Sander Wera in the sixth spot. Then it's Tom Daly, P7, Kalle Rantanen, P8, and Pedro Marimon, ninth. Outside of row 5, Eric Corridon.
Over then to 11th position, and Victor Oliveira will find himself there, along with Patrick Alders in the number 27 in 12th position. Armanula Bacchus got himself 13th, with Alvaro Rodriguez then in 14th position. Row 8 will consist of Brett Ride and Rene Zegelaar out there looking for a good showing in the number 52. Willem van Rassel will start from 17th alongside Mackenzie Mann, which leaves Tim Lancaster and Martin Schmidt on row 10. Just two drivers after that. 22 car field here today at Rudskogen, which leaves Arturo Davila and Bart Verkerk, the final two drivers on the field, Joe.
Already they're lining up and eager to go. It's pretty ideal conditions at 81 Fahrenheit this early in the morning here in Norway. So all we need is Zvedanov, Corridon, Davila, and Verkerk, and we have everybody out on the grid, and they will be released for 17 laps at this track. No pit stops. It is a straight sprint from start to finish. At least no scheduled pit stops. If you head in there, it's going to be a bit of a difficult day, obviously, as you do have a faster pair waiting for you if need be. And they're giving it a little bit of time here towards the back of the field, trying to maybe just wait and make sure that they're happy and ready to go. So it looks like Cordon is now out on the circuit, but we're waiting on Davila and Verkerk. So they'll be our last two, not just on the grid, but last two that will be starting from the very back of the field. Verkerk joins us, and the number 20 car, who was able to get a lap early on, but was not able to repeat that in the qualifying until rather late, is going to try and do a bit of the same here on the timing of the start grid. And he's only got 10 seconds left. There he goes. All right, I was going to say, hopefully he doesn't start from pit lane. I know it's going to be a difficult first corner, but we should cross our fingers that everybody gets through as the engines rev and the lights come up. And the green flag is out, and it looks like off the line. Kavisto is solid. Oh, but it's a poor start in the back for somebody from one of the Spirit 14 cars. That is Sander, and that number 7 is going to fall all the way down the order as they fly into turns 1 and 2. Will everybody be able to make it through without incident here? Looks like they're fanning out, trying to give each other space, and we head down the hill to 3, Jake.
That was really weird from Sandavara off the start because it looked like the wheel was completely jammed to the left and had to do a quick out and in again. Let's go and race. Kavisto down the hill with the lead. Alderding in second, Svetinov third, Elliott fourth. Di Giacomo currently in 5th position, and this is where you're going to have to be alert. Every driver's going to struggle. One driver's gone off running. Zegelar's going to come back onto the circuit and collect 2 with him. So Mackenzie Mann got caught up in it. So too Tim Lancaster, and there's been another spin at 6 and 7. I believe you've seen that as well, Joe.
Yes, Tom Daly, our points leader. Giacomo is involved in it, and they're both going to be able to get the cars rolling, so hopefully it wasn't too bad. Zegelar is the only one I've seen that's had to take a tow here on the first lap. Tom Daly down to 17th as his championship rival currently leads this race. We're going to take a look and see 2 wide up through the S's. Jake, is not a good idea.
That's on Di Giacomo for me. Di Giacomo takes the natural line as if Tom Daly isn't there. He's well alongside up the inside there, and there's not much you can really argue about that. He has to be entitled to some space. Yes, the drive's going to use a lot of curb, but the curb's not the racing track, and Tom Daly should have been entitled to more space there.
So a little messy for a few drivers there on the first lap, but we're already on lap number 2. Kavisto back into the first corner once again. Alderding about a second behind him. He'd been trying to challenge him in the qualifying until Callie really put his foot down there at the end. Look at how wide Alderding goes. Now you're allowed to go out there, but you cannot abuse it too much, obviously, or it'll also give you a slowdown penalty on that. Svetinov follows in behind him. We're on board with him just to show how tough it is down into turn 3.
Oh, look at the sliding from Stefan Alderding, who is riding the levels of grip to pretty much as he possibly can, trying to get some turn up the hill. Svetinov trying to chase this down in 3rd, flicking up through 7, and look how easy you can make a mistake at 7 and 8. Opens the door up for Svetinov. He won't have the power on the exit compared to the iRacing Nederland car of Stefan Alderding, but there is a chance down at turn 10. You can hit the brakes hard and make a move, but not in position. But Alderding is making the mistakes.
Yeah, clearly he's got him a little bit rattled there, and he's all over it, trying to see if he can capitalize to get by. I'm sure Svetinov would like to try and get up to Kavisto if he feels he's got the pace to challenge for the win today. Meanwhile, behind them, side by side, Cordon along with Marimont, and the Spaniard's going to be able to come away with the position, or will he, as he sends it a little deep into the corner. Eric is able to get the car inside of him, but can't get the grip off.
No, it's the drive off the exit there, taking a wider line, diamonding off the corner as Callie Kavisto sets the fastest lap of the race. That's really what helps. They've got Victor Oliveira as well. It's a 3-car battle out then for 5th, for 6th, for 7th, running through the 90-degree left of turn 1. Very reminiscent, this early start, of turns 1 and 2 at the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, just a little bit more elongated through turn 2 and a lot more elevation as you take the crest up the hill. And now the descent as you head to 3 and 4. This is pretty much as hold on gets.
Yeah, especially in these cars. So you're going to see probably a few spins before this race is over through this corner entry, and it tightens up down into 4, but they're going to all hang tough, and still Marimont retains that 5th position. Eric probably has to watch his mirrors a little bit more than his attack towards the front, because as you mentioned, Victor involved, and Alderding and Svetinov have managed to get side by side yet again, but Svetinov's going to be on the wrong side down into turn 10.
He's on the wrong side of the road. It was exactly the same way again, just being out of position through 5 and 6, which meant a missed braking zone at 7. It really does need to be punished here, and it might be punished at turn 12. On the brakes, Svetinov goes, and then the door having to be left open by Alderding as Svetinov was so late on the brakes. He even got a little bit of contact going through. So Alderding having to yield. Some would say there, by default, he had to yield that one. But really, for Stefan Alderding, he has been making a lot of mistakes, and the opportunity has been presenting itself quite often in the opening 3 laps for a Jordanen.
I think Svedunov had the overlap. I think he had right to be there, and so he certainly made it known that he intended to be at that apex. So up into second, 3 seconds to make up to our leader, Kvisto, right now. Will we see a change in the championship lead for the first time in a long time here? Tom Daly is just taken 14th over Willem van Rassel, so he is trying to charge his way back through, but down into the braking now. Through turns 3 and into 4. Svedunov a little bit wide, but opens up the entry into 4. Alderding has no answer. Michael Ellett as well. Let's not forget that green, white, and black machine is very much in the mix.
Yes, and the Positive Delta driver then in 4th position overall would absolutely love to chase down these two, and he might get a chance here through turn 8. Thought for just the briefest moment that Stefan Alderding was struggling there, but that's just the difference of lines, and that's what I love about this circuit here, Joe. Rudskogen allows the opportunity to take 2 or 3 different lines, and some of them do work, and that is crucial in terms of building racecraft from rookie all the way up to an A-class license or even a pro license, is the fact that you get the opportunity to experiment with a track like this, and different lines have different purposes and certainly work, like this battle for 5th position as Marimon still holds off the Frenchman in Couradon, who's searching every which way to try and get the move. But I think Couradon here is just trying to take every opportunity that's available to him, more rather than waiting for the right one.
Riding on board with Victor in the number 13 just behind them. He's going to show his nose on the braking up into turn 1 and then decides against it back onto the racing line. This could be a critical corner exit, one of the longest straights, in fact, the longest straight other than the pit straight right here, heading down into turn 3. Didn't look like Eric was terribly great, so I wonder if Victor might have a little bit of slipstream as they start to pick it up. No, he runs out of track.
Very easy to run out of track, though, but if you can get to the inside like this, you might have a chance. Score! How close do you want to get if you're Eric Couradon? He was searching which way, but he might leave the door open here through the next left-hander, and the big hit on Patrick Alders. Alders is, the hit on Oliveira takes Alders out of the race, and that's again what this circuit does. Drivers think, oh, I've got an opportunity to attack. No one is expecting the move at turn 5.
Much like the Spanish Inquisition, and in this case, it turned into quite a disaster. As that was a little bit too opportunistic there. Thought he could try and insert himself, and unfortunately, three's a crowd, and Alders had to pick up the tab.
Yeah, 4 aces on the side. There's 2 A's at the beginning of Alders, so he had a pair of aces, and he found the hand that he didn't really want, which was the losing hand in terms of his race there. But it still continues on, though. The battle, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th positions. Kind of sus. iRacing Nederland, Positive Delta, Svedunov, Alderding, Ellett in towards turn 1. And I tell you what, Svedunov has just been quietly going about the business, soaking up the pressure from the drivers behind. He's thinking right now of a race for 2nd position, because it is very, very clear that Kalle Kvisto is not going to be caught at this current rate.
We had an accident for Couradon. I think, you know what? I think he had some sort of hardware issue, because that car just went straight into the wall. Did the 85 and just kind of sat there. So I think he's had something go wrong. Yeah, there he goes. Pedals failed, screen went blank, something or other, and he just decided to let it wreck itself rather than take anybody out and be a problem. So that's a bit of a shame to see. He was having a good race up until then. And we head back once again to that battle for P2. Now, the thing is with Svedunov, we asked whether or not, now that he got the clear air, if he can catch up to Kvisto. I'm getting a big no out of that, Jake.
I'm getting a big no as well. Kalle Kvisto has seemingly mastered these conditions a lot better than some of these other drivers. Lap 6 of 17 then in this one, and I think for the moment, Stefan Alderding, if he wants to focus on getting to the championship pointy end, You'll want second position. This will be a damage limitation race. Alderding has shown pace over the course of this season that he can go out there and challenge for races, but sometimes it has been a little bit more few and far between than a consistent challenge between Kavisto and Tom Daly as it has been. So there's work to be done. And speaking of work being done, Tom Daly's been quietly climbing up the rankings. He's now up into 9th position. And what's important is that he'll have his 1P teammate in Brett Wright just in front, which might be an easier pass than most others.
Yeah, that is the 70, who probably won't fight him too hard, I'm sure, once he catches up to him. Tom, remember, as far down as 17th earlier after he got tangled up earlier in this race, trying to head through the S's. So now in 9th and just a little bit farther to go, but not that many laps as well. We're already on lap 7 out of 17 in this event. For the battle for P2, Alderding just wants to harry Jordinen at every chance he can get. He had that second place taken away by the purple and black machine, and he wants to try and return the favor as they lock the brakes up a little bit. Jordinen definitely pushing hard.
He is, and Stefan Alderding, I think, is pushing a little bit harder at this point. Wants to get back through, wants to find second position once again as they run through 13 into 14. This is the only part of the circuit which survived its inception in the early 90s when this track was first created. They only have had one track change. That was in 2012. This used to be about a 1.2 mile circuit. It now is a 2.1 mile circuit, believe it or not. And a really, really great lap to go out and battle on the brakes towards turn number 1 once again. No chance of making the move right now. Stefan Alderding's going to have to be patient. And again, he's trying out that big wide line through turn 2. I think that's costing him a couple car lengths. I don't see how he gets it back in the middle of the corner to go and make that move then at turn 3.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's trying so hard on entry that he's sacrificing the exit quite a bit, and you can see the two different lines between them down through 3 and 4 as it tightens back up, compresses, and heads uphill. The orange and white number 51 just stays in the mirrors, trying to force Svetinov into a mistake somewhere, trying to get him to open up the door, but there have been none forthcoming so far.
Nothing just yet, but every lap produces a brand new opportunity, and just staying within that range, that very, very gettable range that is there, I'm sure is going to be more help to Alderding than it is hindrance at this point. And he's going to the Sim Racers 101 book of how to make an overtake here, Joe, because he's trying to get as wide as possible in the mirrors of a Jordinin Svetinov. Make sure that I'm going to be looking at the inside of every corner I can possibly think of. If you'd write a book of 101 how to sim race, that would be one of the first things that you put. And guess what? He's just about to get that because he's got a magical run out to the final corner.
Trying to switch back to get to the racing line. Svetinov tries to maximize his speed as he knows Alderding's going to be close. But as they enter that corner, it's pretty much rinse repeat here as he's going to go a little bit wide off the turn. This time, though, I think he kept it a little bit tighter. I think there was more grip underneath the 51. He's showing his nose. Surely he's not going to try and do anything down into here. He's not close enough, though.
It's not close enough, but he's still trying to think about that inside line. He's still trying to get large in the mirrors. And even though he doesn't make the move, he does once again make a Jordinin Svetinov think. And drivers like rhythm and routine. If you can unsettle that, again, a little look to the inside at turn 5, that's all you need to do. That's what you need to do to force a mistake, an unforced error, out of the drivers in front of you. I love the way Alderding's driving this. He's doing well, but I also love the battle for 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th out there at the moment here, Joe, because Kalle Rantanen has got a massive train behind him, and here is the championship leader trying to pick his way through all of it.
Yeah, this started actually between Ware and Ride. They were fighting for that 7th position, and they were catching Kalle in the process as they were being caught by Tom Daly. So it's a perfect storm of various battles all meeting in the middle, and it's going to be the poor Finn that has to weather it all up at the front and try to stay cool. He goes a little wide coming off of turn 11 there, and unfortunately... Oh, big mistake, and now Ride's going to jump on it.
That's a very weird place to have a mistake. Turn 13. You wouldn't put it on the map as a place where you get it wrong, but he just had the back end step out as he went through, and all of a sudden troubles. But Vara's going to come straight back at Brett Ride, heading towards turn number 1. He's not going to give this one up in a hurry, and he has to jam on the binders. Brett Ride slammed the door shut. He absolutely did not want to lose that place.
And that gave him a big buffer back to Sanders, so he can now focus forward on Rantanen. All that fighting lost them a lot of positions in the process. We're down to 8 laps to go now. Rantanen has got to just survive a little bit longer here, because now that Brett has to make that back up, that's going to cost him probably a lap, maybe 2 even, depending on how quick the 36 is. And it looks like that Sanders recovering quickly himself, as he's already back on the back, and poor Tom Daly is still stuck back in 9th.
Ooh, and very nearly took a shot at the back of Sandavara there, who's way out of line through turn 8. And thank you very much, Lee. Tom Daly has to almost exit stage left to make that pass. He gets through, but Sandavara clearly rattled by the way that the last lap or so has gone about, and he is just fighting to find some kind of form to get back on pace, because soon he'll have Alvaro Rodriguez and Amanula Bacchus on the back of him.
Back to Alderding. This is the closest we've seen him in a while. He could attack on Svetanov, and Jordanen knows it. He covers the inside down into turn 1. They're going to be wheel to wheel, going the long way around. Could give the inside for the second part of the corner, and no, pinch down a little bit. Alderding can't hang at first. Tries to come back. Is going to force Jordanen off the circuit, and now it is a drag race. Michael Ellett has a view from behind on both of them, sitting in the popcorn position on one of the fastest corners on the track. As they come down to the compression of 3, is anybody going to give way? It's going to have to be Svetanov.
Not yet. Svetanov can get a good run here out of 4, and all of a sudden he'll be back in the offensive position right now, and I'm sure that Alderding knows it. Going through the left and the right of 5 and 6, and now up the hill at the braking zone of 7. Alderding is pitch perfect through that section and does more than enough to make sure that Jordanen Svetanov will be thinking about behind him in a fight for a podium, or rather than the race for second position.
Rantanen also lost 2 spots in that lap as well. Both Daly and Ride got by him up into 7th and 6th, respectively. Meanwhile, we continue to watch that battle for second that has remained close the entire race, and that's all it's going to be unless we get a huge error out of the number 1 car, because they have slipped to about 7 seconds behind Kalle Kavisto right now. We're on board with Tom Daly riding behind his teammate. He gets a run, and this is a bit of an awkward place to try and give the position away to him. He's going to try and open up the exit. Will this finally get it done down the front stretch, maybe?
Well, it's not been given. That much you can tell by the way that Brett Ride's driving here. He absolutely wants this P6, and he's not going to let this one go, Tom Daly or otherwise. You're going to have to earn it, Sunshine, if you want to find your way through. Think about it at turn 1. Lifts off of it. It's not going to have it. Back in the background, Sandavara getting really close to the back end there of Kalle Rantanen, who is just in front. So this is starting to turn into a very important 6-car battle, and Tom Daly knows that it's 6 seconds down the road to Pedro Marimon, and the pace that he's running right now, it's not going to get there. So this is as good as it gets for Tom Daly, the best he can recover in this race from a lap 1 incident. Might just be 6th place.
Yeah, he's going to have to hope for dramas in front of him to do anything from here, besides get past Brett Ride, of course. So we'll see whether or not his teammate plays nice later on, or if he's going to fight him all the way to the checkered flag as they head towards the hairpin down at turn 10. He's certainly pressurizing Ride at every corner he can, forcing him down to the defensive line, down through the hairpin, and neither of them take it particularly well, both losing time to Rantanen behind them.
Well, that's not the most immediate concern. He's not in a position to attack, but the way that they attack turn 12, take a bit of runoff on the exit as well. The 2 1P cars know that they want to race. And Tom Daly is actually being really clever. He's setting up every single corner to try and get as much exit speed as possible, and he does a good job here of managing that while holding a very narrow inside line. Now he's going to try and be track general here, figure out if he can make the move to the inside. Brett Ride pinning himself to the racing line. That puts Tom Daly straight through and was not going to fight it the moment he got alongside. So some very clever driving, but Daly's going to run very wide out of the exit of turn 2. Brett Ride might just have a ticket to ride back into 6th place.
It's another drag race down into turn 3. This is a huge drop down into here. Yeah, there you go. So that answers that. Ride saw the writing on the wall and decided it's better to let Tom try and fight for this position. Somebody's smoking up the tires in front of them there for a brief moment as we switch back to Svetinov. It's been basically that battle in the mid-pack and this battle up towards the front that have stolen the show here today. A very wide entry trying to cut back across. The number 8 can't quite get the grip off the turn. Alderding will retain that second spot. They're going to come to 4 to go here in a moment.
I'll tell you what, this has been an incredibly interesting battle, and most of that interest has been in the form of the likes of these drivers when they've been in front of this group. Alderding with a little slide through turn 14, but he's had better pace than Jordan Svetinov has had, and as such, Michael Elliott just hasn't been able to hang on. He could when Svetinov was in front. He can't now that it's Stefan Alderding, but Svetinov so good at following the wheel tracks of Stefan Alderding just in front of him. This battle for 2nd and 3rd right now comes down to whether or not Jordan Svetinov has any retort in the final 4 laps of this race.
Well, he'll have some opportunities as long as he stays close. This track tends to breed mistakes, obviously. So all he has to do is just pressure that number 51 to see if he can get something out of him. Taking a slightly different line down through 3 and 4. Doesn't lose too much, but also is not able to get towards the back of him. Michael Elliott's about a 1.5 seconds behind now. There you can see the green and white machine in the background kind of losing out, and a slide into 7 is not what Svetinov was looking for there.
It's not, and this is where tyre wear slowly starts to creep in. There's not much on these Miatas, but there is just enough tyre wear that it is a forefront. For example, Svetinov's fastest lap, lap 2, was a 1:36.5. That last lap was a 37.1 from him, 0.6 of a second slower than his outright quickest, and he didn't really do too much wrong. So that just goes to show that this is going to be a tough circuit as well on tyres, because you are having to work them through many different tough tests. This is going to be a high degradation circuit. So now here comes Svetinov once again, thinking with 3 laps to go, am I close enough this time? And I think Stefan Alderding knows that he might just not be close enough for the run in towards turn number 1, but he takes a slightly narrower line just in case there was a lunge.
Yeah, you mentioned about the tires. You consider the longest corners on this track, turn 2, turns 3 and 4, and then turn 14. Those are all right-handers. Left side tires probably going to be screaming before this is over. Svetinov still 0.2 of a second behind as they head into turns 3 and 4 and try to get the car woed up, and you can see that orange and white number 51 just dancing on the brakes.
It's a much more conventional line from Stefan Alderding going through 3 and 4. Svetinov is a lot more narrow, and because he's narrow through turn 3, trying to search to the inside, he has to actually brake more and take turn 4 a lot slower. That costs a couple 0.1 of a second, and it means by the time they get to 7 and 8 and here towards turn 10, he doesn't have that chance for the overtake. If he took a more conventional turn 4 out there on track, Joe, turns 3 and 4, he might have a chance at turn 10. And that's a really, really interesting thing to say, that, oh, it's not going to matter 6 turns in advance, but really that's the only thing that's stopping Svetinov right now from making a move.
Something must have happened to Daly, because Brett Ride is back through yet again. Yeah, on the main straight this last time. Brett Ride passed him. Not sure what's going on. Wonder if Daly had maybe a slowdown penalty or something here. So
oh, yes. he would have done, that would have been a slowdown penalty because he was really, really aggressive going through turn 14. He took 2 tires on the grass even through 14. He was trying to take that much time out of it. So yeah, that would have been a slowdown penalty for number 67.
Mystery solved, and that was costly. Having to try and fight for that position right on back, and Alderding here on your screen heading down into the corner. No, excuse me, this is Cavisto that we see here putting a lap on Victor Oliveira. And it is not that long of a lap, so of course eventually they are going to hit the lap traffic at some point. Daly is passed once again, so Daly's got by Brett Ride. Now is trying to leave himself and Rantanen behind as we continue to follow our overall leader here.
Oh, Brett's gone very, very wide at turn 3, and Kalle Rantanen can just park the bus through turn 4 and say thank you very much. No chance that you're going to be finding a way through back through there. So Kalle Rantanen holds on and moves up into 7th position in the blink of an eye. That's a very aggressive line from Brett Ride. He's not going to find that there. But I tell you what, the biggest compliment you can give a driver in a race like this is not to show him at all, because it shows that he's doing all the hard work and that it's pretty much a formality. Kalle Cavisto's victory here today, from practice to qualifying to a race, Joe, has been a formality. Knock wood, 3.25 kilometers he holds on.
Oh, and he sends it a little deep into the first corner. There's paved runoff there, thankfully, to help save him. So it looks like he is good for now and didn't get a slowdown penalty out of that either. 7 seconds down to Stefan Alderding. So I asked the question at the top of the show on whether he can take the fight to Tom Daly, and this is looking like a big yes to me. I think Cavisto has seen what's happened with those drop points, seen what it's done to his championship hopes. Remember, he is the reigning champion. He's got that #1 on his car. He knows how to win the championship here in the Sunday Drivers' Cup. It's just having to execute twice on it, especially against a fast guy like Tom Daly.
I tell you what, it's not often that the #1 comes into a race like this as an underdog, but oh, hello, that's going to be exit stage left Tom Daly. He has a massive moment at turn 3 and he gets into the side of Kalle Rantanen. He's going to lose 5 spots, Joe.
Oh my goodness, what in the world happened there? Rantanen just got a good run on him, it looks like, down into 3, and he was vulnerable and it came to blows in the end, but Kalle Cavisto stayed away from all that drama. He stayed away from anybody trying to get their elbows out, and he is going to take a dominant and important win in his championship hopes here today at Rudskogen.
And a comfortable win at that, but I tell you what, it's still going on. Brett Wright's around now. So Brett Wright's gone around. Sandavara's had a spin as well at turn number 8, and suddenly Tom Daly, he's back through. He's got past Amanula Kalle Rantanen now. Only Amanula Bacchus left, but there's damage for Tom Daly here, and he's trying to cover off Rantanen through this section. This is a war of attrition as they come to the line.
Bacchus is loving this. He's up 7 from where he started, tied for hard charger in this race if he finishes where he is. And he's slowing down. He's slowing down. Was he scored ahead of Tom? No. He let Tom through. Wonder if there was some drama between them. We're going to try and take a look at the replay.
He thought it was Brett Wright.
Oh.
He thought that was Brett Wright. So
wrong guy.
So it's turn 10 where the issue happens. He gets into the back of Brett Wright. Wright turns around, and Amanula Bacchus has slowed down to try and redress the position to Brett Wright, but it's a case of mistaken identity. He slowed down for Tom Daly.
Oh. So Tom lucked out in the end and minimized the damage with a 6th place. That was bizarre. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and try to unravel this mess in a moment. We'll have the unofficial results as well as driver interviews after this.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Good morning, everyone. I'm going to ride around the world.
I'm Mick Claridge, and I'm going to ride around the world on my bike. My son, he gave me advice at the start of this ride, and he looked at me and just said, "Dad, don't be a moron."
Let me do my animal signal to gain their respect. How's it going, Sally? Yeah, I'm alright, Mick. How's it going? Worse than that bit in Lord of the Rings where they go into the top and the spiders in the tunnel. I'm just hoping there's a spider at the top of this one to kill me. Freezing.
And I failed. I moroned up the ride.
Welcome back to Rudskogen Motor Center. We just watched the first race for the Sunday Drivers' Cup here at this track ever. For round 15 of their championship, Kalle Kavisto is going to take the maiden victory. It's Stefan Alderding who finished behind him, but it was really no contest on that one. It was about 7 seconds between them at the line. Svedanov had a right old fight with the 51, but came out the worst of the two, with a podium still in his hand. Michael Ellett was just outside of that, finishing 4th. Merrimon from 9th to 5th. Nice job from him. Tom Daly wound up 6th ahead of Backus, who we believe tried to give the position back to Tom's teammate, who he had spun just earlier in that final lap. But Amanala was 7th in the end. Kalle Rantanen finished P8, Alvaro Rodriguez P9, and Willem van Rassel 7th position gain up to 10th.
Yeah, very good drive from Willem van Rassel, and a quiet one at that as well. Claudio Di Giacomo was caught up with Tom Daly on lap 1. He had to fall back to 11th position. Martin Schmidt would also benefit on Brett Ride's misfortune and finish in 12th. Ride unlucky there on the final lap, but will end up in the unluckiest for some position of 13th. Mackenzie Mann would finish 14th, and a very big amount of time lost for Sander Vara, who may have had a slowdown penalty unserved because he fell unscrupulously back to 15th position at the end of the race, just ahead of Arturo Davila, the Mexican driver. Patrick Alders found himself broadside into an accident early on in the race. He found himself 17th with Tim Lancaster in 18th, which leads the drivers one lap down or retirees here, Joe, which includes Victor Oliveira, Bart Verkerk, and then the two drivers early on, Eric Couradon, who had a dramatic exit from this race, and René Zegelar, who was out in the opening 3 laps.
Sad to see that, but the man that completed every lap in the lead was Callie Cavisto, who by our estimations might actually be our championship leader after today. Congratulations, Callie. We said in the opening to the show that this might be an important opportunity for you to try and fight back now that the drop weeks have been applied. Was that in your mind as you ran this race?
Yes, good evening. Yeah, that one, and also the new track, so I knew, like, it's new for everybody, and we still kind of are learning it, so I was just trying to do my best and, not to lose control, and it was actually pretty close a couple times that I didn't lose it, but yeah, I was able to hold it together and take the victory.
Well, Jake and I have been won over by this track, but it's easy for us to say up from in the booth where we don't have to be down there competing. How do you feel now that you've had a chance to race it up against your rivals here?
Sorry, could you repeat? I didn't quite get it.
How do you feel about the track now that you've had a chance to race it and really feel it in action?
Yeah, first of all, I thought the qualifying was like half of the race for me. I knew I had pace, but I just had to get the first place, and then, when the lights go off, I just needed to go to the distance because I wasn't too confident driving around here like side by side, so I was just trying to get the pole position and disappear.
Well, it's obviously has set you back on track for what could be a back-to-back championship here for the driver's crown. When we head off to Lime Rock, which is going to be a very tight track since it's the chicanes version, are you looking forward to that? Is that another one you feel like you could take advantage of, or is the difficulty of those chicanes going to make it really hard?
I think I've driven there quite many times already, so I know the track quite well. So it's gonna be another day in the office, to be honest.
All right, I like that confidence. Congratulations, Callie. Who helped put you in victory lane today?
Well, I just wanna thank the team. It's good to see Michael Elliott back in the business, and it was a very good race for the whole team. Actually, I think if I was it all the drivers within top 11 or something like that? So very good day for the Positive Delta Motorsport.
Absolutely was. Callie Cavisto there, our winner here today in the Sunday Drivers' Cup. But Jake has caught up with the man who finished third, Jordan Svetanov, ready to talk to him.
Jordan, that was a race where the moment that you and Stefan Olderding began to battle, it looked like victory wasn't going to be the focus of the race. So in terms of how Stefan was driving when you were in front and when Stefan was driving when he was in front, did you notice anything really different in terms of the way he went about his work and how you had to adapt to the way he drove?
Well, first couple of laps, he was really unsure in his lines. So it was a little bit slower than me, but after that, after I passed him, he started to pick up his tempo, and yeah, it was really fast the last couple of laps. So I had no chance to get close to him and try another move for another pass.
Still, though, you'd have to say it's an incredibly difficult circuit to get a lap 100% correct. Do you look at this lap and think that there are a couple places on it where you're always having to sacrifice a little bit of time, just knowing that, you have to keep the stability in the car, you have to keep the car pointed in the right direction with this track being so hilly and difficult and really testing of when's the right time to brake?
Well, almost everywhere. So this track has almost no grip everywhere, so it's really, really tricky, and you can lose control everywhere. So it was really hard, and it was my first race here, first ride this track. So it was hard. You can't push to the limit here. Almost no practice before that.
Well, you found the limit and you did a really good job, but 5 rounds left in the championship now from here. You've got your eyes focused on stage hunting, so to speak. Do you believe that with the pace that Calais showed today that, that it's going to be maybe difficult, but you do have a chance of picking up maybe 1, potentially 2 victories between now and the end of the season?
Oh, victories, yes. Maybe I have some chances in the next races, but my goal is to get P3 in general standing. So the battle with Kale is not my battle. So yeah.
Well, your battles with the orange car that's been in front and in and around you all of today. Before we let you go, Jordan, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done for you?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Who would you like to thank?
I want to thank my team, and my other team. One of the guys support me in my chat in my stream. So I want to thank him to support me this race. And of course, I want to thank to you guys. Of course, another great broadcast. I think I will watch it after the race. And thanks to the guys in the league, Sandra, of course. And that's it.
Jordan Setonov then joining us. Kind of sus racing, but there was nothing kind of sus about that performance, Joe. 3rd place and thoroughly deserved.
Yeah, that was great racing between himself and Stefan. Very fair between the pair of them, but also very hard. As we are going to wrap it up with a big thank you to the Sunday Drivers' Cup community for bringing us on to cover this season, and also a thanks to the team today, Jake, Ryan, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store, where we've got links in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we mentioned, the next race at Lime Rock Park will be Sunday, October 16th at 5 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.